Hello everybody on the beautiful website of YouTube, this is your Uncle Gurga coming today with a review of a Tim Burton film from 1994. That movie is Ed Wood. In Ed Wood we follow the young ambitious filmmaker Edward D. Wood Jr. and his crew as they try to make some of the more obscure and weird horror films of the 50s and often considered quite horrible at that. Now this is a movie that I have procrastinated for quite a long time and I don't really know why, because this always looked like one of the more interesting Tim Burton films and it's always been praised like one of the best, if not the best Tim Burton film. But I finally saw it and it was amazing. It was fantastic, beautiful, funny, yet a very inspirational tale about the filmmaker who's doing what he thinks is right when the world is quite against him, you know. None in Hollywood really believed in Ed Wood and his films, but he believed in them so much himself that he just wanted to make them anyway, and he did everything he can to make his visions come true. Some things I love about this movie is the black and white style and having the classic transitions we've seen from the 40s, 50s and 60s cinema. It kind of reminded me of, you know, watching a classic film, and I think it really fits the style of the movie, you know, harking back because he was a director back in the 50s, so it feels kind of natural to have it in there. And like I said, it's a very inspirational movie, yet a funny movie. It's a comedic but very inspirational tale about very odd ball of the director who has some very weird characteristics and also has some very obscure and quite out there stories that he wants to tell that maybe doesn't make that much sense, because Ed Wood is famous for being one of the worst, if not the worst director in Hollywood history, and if you look at his films you kind of understand why, but the entertainment value is definitely there, I can tell you that much. Performance wise this movie was out fucking standing. I mean, Johnny Depp, holy shit, I'm surprised Johnny Depp was not nominated for this movie. This is maybe my favorite performance by his, and I'm not joking. He was amazing in this film because he was kind of Looney Tune out there, you know. He's a very funny guy in the like unintentional way, and he's very out there with what he believes, and he's kind of jolly and happy, but at the same time he's just such an inspirational character. He's kind of like Forrest Gump, or however, this character is not really retarded per se, but he definitely feels like a Forrest Gump character who's just doing what he thinks is right and doing things his own way. Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi might be one of the best supporting performances ever. Like, that performance was just wow, it floored me in so many ways. It was such a beautiful somber performance when it needed to, and it also was an hilarious comedy performance when it needed to. He knew exactly which strings to pull. That's a nod to the movie. And I mean, the scene when he is rehearsing his lines, or when he's on set and making the film Glenn and Glenda for Ed Wood, is one of the most incredibly funny scenes I've seen in a long time. He was amazing in this movie, and the characters are fascinating. Follow an old Bela Lugosi who Ed Wood stumbles upon, who wants to be part of his movies because he gets no job, and Ed Wood of course looks up to him because he's the original Dracula, you know. He is a horror icon of an actor, and also, you know, follow him in his life and really follow him as a person who who really was. And then of course, like I said, Ed Wood is such a weird, obscure, has so weird, obscure ideas that he wants to get out there, and it's just amazing to follow. And also Bill Murray has a very small role in this movie. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that else than he kind of plays this flamboyant man. He's a very weird character that has some interesting parts to him, I must say. And of course we have the girlfriends of Ed Wood with Patricia Arquette and Sarah Jessica Parker, and they were great too. I mean, they probably one of the less good things about this movie is those characters not maybe getting enough development, not being on screen enough, and not getting enough time maybe. But the problem is having Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi as the main characters. They are amazing. They are scene stealers from both of them, and they are just fantastic characters to follow and so interesting, so inspirational. So and it's also kind of a twisted story. It's not twisted that it's disgusting or disturbing, but it's twisted in how weird life can be sometimes, and how weird films are made, and just following a director's journey to make what he feels is right. Then again, we don't really know how much of this is true. I really hope most of it is true though, because it felt like it definitely could happen, most of the things in this film, and it was so inspirational, like I said. And it's a very heartwarming film at the same time you know. I think this is kind of, it's a very feel-good film, actually, which I'm not the one who loves feel-good films. I really love the more dark, depressing endings or bittersweet endings, but this movie really left on a kind of positive note, you know. It really felt like a heartwarming tale that's inspirational, funny. Then again, it's very somber and dramatic when it needs to, because it's a real-life events happening in this movie, but fantastic movie, I must say. This, like I said, the things I didn't like about the movie were the characters of Patricia Arquette and Sarah Jessica Parker not feeling that fleshed out. They could definitely have done more to their characters, and I also feel they had the typical biopic ending, you know, where you have like text coming up about what happens to the characters after the ending, and I never really liked that, and I definitely don't like it in a movie like this, where it's such an obscure and weird movie about such an interesting man and character that actually was a real person. And also, this movie doesn't really start with the beginnings of his life, so I don't think you really need to tie it up with exactly how his life ended. I felt it's quite unnecessary to have a text ending just telling straight out what happened to the characters in the film. I don't know. I've never been a fan of that. I don't, because it feels like a movie should end with more like a punch. It doesn't have the punch when it ends in that way, and that's probably like the biggest complaint I have about this movie. Otherwise, this movie blew me away. It floored me because it was such, like I said, heartwarming. It was quite dramatic and somber, but it was such a funny comedy throughout, with real-life characters doing real-life things, those things being quite weird, doing some obscure movies, doing some questionable filmmaking. I mean, it's just a fascinating story from start to finish. Burton as his best, depicting a comedic, fascinating story of an inspirational filmmaker and all the ones who believed in him. In the end, I'm going to give Ed Wood a rate of a 9 out of 10. I thought this movie was fantastic. This is definitely one I need to have on my Blu-ray shelf. I don't own it on Blu-ray yet, but this is definitely one I need to pick up, because yeah, I think people are not exaggerating. This might be Tim Burton's best film. If you enjoyed the video, the review I had here on display, please leave a like and a nice comment. Subscribe if you want more of my content, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.